Hey guys, Cameron here. Today I want to talk to you about my family's newest backpacking tent, the REI Trailhut 4. This is a tent we bought specifically so that all four of us, my wife, myself, and my two young boys, can stay in the same tent together. And this turned out to be a really good size for that. I definitely wouldn't want to have four adults in here, although it is possible. It is a good size for two adults and two kids. This tent is definitely not what I would call ultralight, but it is kind of lightweight if you do divide the weight up over two adults or four people carrying this tent. There are several options for dividing it up, and I think that works out really well. This is a good quality feeling tent and looking tent, although this is not a long-term review of this tent. This is generally just a general overview or a setup video so that you can check out the REI Trailhut 4. I will give you some specific details about this, weights and dimensions and things like that, and we'll set it up and we'll show you what it looks like. Alright, so the first thing is the bag that the Trailhut 4 comes in. It's just your standard tent bag with a closure on one end, has a carrying handle, and it is about the size to lash to the outside of an external frame pack if you're using one of those. It can also be stored probably vertically inside of an internal frame pack or divided up between several people and fit pretty much however you would like for it to fit. I do think it is a little bit big to fit horizontally inside of an internal frame pack, so that may limit you a little bit. It has this simple cord lock closure on the end. It opens up here and then everything is in here together. It also has a handle on the end so that you can easily pull the whole bag off like that. And then I have everything wrapped up in here. So let me lay it out and I'll show you the individual pieces to the tent. All right, so this is the main tent body. It is 90 by 88 inches for a total of about 55 square foot. Internal dimensions. The tent body itself weighs 2 pounds 9.8 ounces, or 41.8 ounces for the tent body. This tent does come with an included footprint or ground sheet, which is this separate piece of material here, and that's solely just to protect the bottom of the tent. You don't have to have that. The tent is waterproof on bottom on its own. That is specifically just to protect the flooring, make your tent last a little longer, keep it cleaner, things like that. And that footprint is 11.1 ounces. So like I said, if you're wanting to lose some of the weight off of this tent, you will get rid of the footprint and not bring it. And by the way, when you go to look at specific weights of the tent, or you might see it say minimum trail weight, the minimum trail weight is without the footprint, because you don't have to have that for the tent to function fully. So you can easily drop 11.1 ounces if you don't need the footprint. So this is the tent body, like I said, with the footprint. I will get out the poles and we'll talk about those. So these are the poles in a pole bag for the tent. They are 2 pounds 4.3 ounces, and there are two main poles and one pole for your rainfly. And these poles are aluminum, so they're not the super flimsy fiberglass poles you may see from like some of your cheaper tents, like from say at Walmart or Academy or something like that. So they are good poles, which I think is really nice. And then right here, I don't know if you can make it out, but they do come with this splint. This is if a pole was to bend or snap or something like that, you slide this splint over top of it to repair it in the field until you can get home and order a new one. REI has a really good policy within the first year of helping you out for either returning or replacing some products you buy from them. But these poles are a good pole. They are definitely feel lighter weight than, like, say, some of REI's car camping tents, which is a lot of the stuff about this tent is you can tell it feels good quality. Definitely step up from, like what I was saying, the Walmart tents or things like that, but it's definitely a step down as far as I guess like beefiness of construction compared to some of the car camping tents, which is just any backpacking tent in general. So I would only buy this tent specifically for backpacking. Or if you were planning on backpacking and car camping and you needed one tent, this may be a good option for you. But as far as if you were buying this specifically for car camping, I think I would look into another REI tent. So the poles themselves, like I said, there are two main poles, a rainfly pole, and these feel really well constructed. And you don't have to have the bag to put them in. You could easily roll these up inside of the tent whenever you put it in the main bag. This bag would save you about half an ounce, but I mean, whenever you have a tent that weighs about this much, the half ounce really isn't weighing you down much. So the next part of this tent are the stakes, and this is the stake bag. These come with the tent, so everything in the package whenever you order the Trailhut 4 comes together. You are ready to set your tent up. You don't need any stakes other than the ones they send you. Other than these are just your typical steel stakes, and they are kind of heavy. These weigh 5.5 ounces for the stakes. That's 6 stakes and the bag. I went with a lighter weight stake and was able to save almost 4 ounces. So that's a quarter of a pound by using some lighter stakes that I already had. So if you would like to invest in some better stakes, they will definitely lighten your load up for backpacking. So a quarter pound's quite a bit whenever you're backpacking. And if you're willing to invest in some lighter weight stakes, or ditch the stakes altogether, and if you have a place where you have rocks or things to tie down to, you can do that to save even more weight. So this is the last piece of the tent. This is the rainfly, and it does come with these extra guy lines already attached to it. You can take those off if you're not expecting any high winds or bad weather, but I typically leave mine on there because you never know. They also are just a great way to be able to tie down for whatever reason. So the rainfly weighs 2 pounds, 5.7 ounces. That's with the guy lines and everything. Which is almost as much as the main tent body, but this is the thing that's actually going to keep you dry and protect you from the weather. So you want this to be fairly well made. Like I said, when comparing to like one of REI's car camping tents, definitely not quite as thick, but it is made to be lighter weight for backpacking. So the entire setup for the entire tent on my scale is 8.4 pounds, which I said, I know that sounds like a lot, but you have to keep in mind that this is a 4-person tent. So divided out over 4 people, it's not near as much as what it sounds like. And that is with everything. That's with their stakes and the footprint. If you take away those things or swap out the stakes, you're looking at about 7.25 pounds. And divide that up over 4 people, it is about 1 3/4 pounds, just slightly over that. So it's really not a super heavy tent whenever you divide it out over the people carrying it. But it is, if one person was carrying the whole thing, this would be a fairly heavy tent. So for like our family, my wife and I will split the tent up, and then whenever my boys get a little bit bigger, we'll be able to divide it out just a little bit more. But like I said, this is a tent for us to go to like a local state park and camp and backpack, or go out to a national park and do some smaller trips. This isn't something that I would take with me going on like a really long backpacking trip. But for you, you'll just have to decide what it's worth to you. I feel like the budget of this tent and the quality of the tent, as well as like REI's return policy, all that stuff factored in together with the weight, this was just a good choice for us. So let's get to setting the tent up and we'll take a look at it. So the 2 main poles are the really long poles. This one that's about 6.5, 7 foot long, that is your rainfly pole. And then this right here is the splint I was talking to you about. So if you were to bend or snap one of your poles, you would just slide this over right to the broken spot, and that would kind of provide a little bit more structure for it. One thing I really like about this tent is there's no sleeves to slide your poles through, so that makes it really easy. Everything is a clip, and I will show you how easy that is to put it together right now. So this is the tent set up with just the two main poles, and you can see here you have this extra fabric, and that is where your third pole is going to go over to help pull out the awning over top of the doors. So now the tent is set up in what I would call like Texas summer mode. When you know it's not going to rain at all, but you need maximum ventilation. As you can see on the main tent body, there is quite a bit of mesh all the way around the top, and then it drops a little lower on two corners, and you get plenty of ventilation through there, as well as a little bit of privacy from other people in their tents whenever you're down below this solid material here. Now this white part is not waterproof. The green part around the bottom, that'd be like your bathtub floor, that is waterproof, and then your rain fly will cover all the rest of that, the mesh and the white, to make it fully waterproof tent. So set up like this, you can see it is quite a bit of space, definitely big enough, like I said, for 2 adults and 2 kids. All right, so here's a side view of the tent. You can see how that extra pole we added last really helps open up the tent, really pulls the awning part out over the door, gives you a little more headspace inside, as well as you can definitely see how the mesh comes down on 2 of the corners and creates quite a bit more mesh rather than just have it right around the top. And I think that'll help definitely get a little bit of breeze going through the tent. Give you a close-up of what the grommets look like, where the poles go into. There's only one there, so it's pretty much foolproof. This clip here is where your rain fly will clip in. Then you have this loop out here is where your stake's going to go through to hold that to the ground. All 4 are all the same. This tent is symmetrical, so it really doesn't matter which direction you set this up. Here is a close-up look of the grommet on top. For the extra pole, this loop here is just to help you pull the tension out to help you get the pole in, and then all of the clips on the tent look the same like this. They're all the same size, all the same color. That really helps make this tent easy to set up since everything is symmetrical. One thing you want to keep in mind is when you set this tent up, when you add the third shorter pole, run it over the top of the 2 main crossing poles. That'll help hold that pole up, and then it's easy to get in there. This toggle up here is open on one side, so all the poles just slip right in there. Like I said, no sleeves for the poles to run through, makes it a super simple setup. While we're here, I'll show you, you can see this zipper right here. There's one also on the other side. That serves the purpose of you being able to unzip the tent from the inside, reach up through there and adjust the vents on your rain fly, and I'll show you all that from the inside here in just a little bit. REI does that on a lot of their tents, including their car camping tents, and it's just a really nice feature that you don't have to get out if it is raining to adjust the vents on the rain fly. All right, so let's add the rain fly to this tent. Like the rest of the setup, it's a pretty simple process, and I'll go ahead and throw it on there right now, and I'll show you around. So anytime you're setting a tent up like this, one of the easiest ways to make sure it's all lined up is to just follow the seams of the rain fly. Will follow the same seams as the tent, at least on pretty much any tent that I've ever set up. That'll help you make sure you have it oriented the right way. Some of them have a specific front door and back door. Like I said, this one really doesn't matter. You'll know that the REI logo that's on the rain fly is on the side of the tent, and then the vestibules and doors are obviously on the same sides as the doors on the main body of the tent. So if you fold the rain fly back, you'll find another grommet on a piece of webbing, just like what's on the main tent body, and you'll slide that over that third shorter pole that you added in. That's what supports the rain fly and holds it out away from the tent. Do that on the back as well. Then walk around to all 4 corners and clip it into the tent. Alright, so the rain fly is secure to the tent, but you can see we have all this extra material here. This is your 2 vestibules. This is like a little porch for getting in your tent. It's great, especially for backpacking if it's raining, to be able to put wet gear or to get in there, close it up, take your wet stuff off while you're crouched down, and then climb into the tent. This part itself, while the tent is freestanding, the vestibule is not. So you definitely have to stake that out or tie it to a rock, something like that. And it just has this loop here, and that's what you will stake out. All right, so there is your tent set up. Now I didn't put stakes in the 4 main corners, and that's just for setting up. If I was out camping, I definitely would put stakes in those 4 corners. Now the tent comes with 6 stakes, so that's what the 6 stakes are for, the 4 main corners, and then 1 stake in each vestibule. These are the guy lines that come with the tent. This is to help hold the tent down in high winds. You have these longer ones here. You have some shorter ones on the side that can help pull the tent out like that. So it's definitely up to you whether you would like to add more stakes to your setup. That makes it super easy. You know, you always have a way to stake it down, tie it out, however you want to say it. But if not, you can rely on finding tree roots or rocks or limbs, things like that, to tie off to if you face bad weather. It is just always kind of a good idea, I think, to add in a couple stakes, especially if you have some of the lightweight stakes that only weigh 1/4 of an ounce or something like that a piece. It really doesn't add too much to your setup to get the peace of mind of being able to set it up in high winds. And you don't necessarily have to stake out every single guy line. You can stake out just the guy lines facing into where the wind is coming from, but that will definitely help the structure of your tent. So I'll go ahead and add in a couple stakes to the main guy line and the little side guy line just to show you what that looks like. So it's pretty simple. That's just, like I said, to add a little more structure to the tent. And then this little toggle here is just like your basic toggle you have on a lot of your tents. You just simply pull it up this way, push some line through, or to let it out, you pull up on it a little bit and it'll slide and loosen up depending on how much wind you have or how much tension you want to put on the line. Just be careful if you've got little kids running around. Those tend to get tripped on all the time, so make them aware of that. Here you go, get another side view of the tent. You can see that REI logo looks nice. That's a really cool color rainfly. You can see one of the guy lines rolled up there on the left hand corner, and that's how they come from the factory. So they're pretty much out of the way unless you really need them, which I like. And let me take you around. I'll show you the vents and the doors of the rainfly. That's a couple of the cooler features of the tent. And then we'll hop inside and check out the inside of the tent. All right, so these are your vents on top of your rainfly. There are 4 of them, 2 on this side, 2 on the opposite side. And these are just to let heat and moisture out of the inside of the tent so that you're not completely closing everything in and creating a bunch of condensation. These are just held together with Velcro. They have a little Velcro tab right here, and then they have this little tiny pole in here, a little stay that is completely covered in Velcro so that you can clip these open however you want, but they are made to be clipped open just like this. It holds it open, it doesn't move around, and you can do that to all 4 vents or 2 of the vents or 1 of the vents, whatever you need to help you make you comfortable inside. All right, so let's check out the doors. Now these are identical on both sides of the tent, so I'll just show you the one on this side. There are a couple different ways you can set these doors up. Obviously this is completely closed. This would be storm mode if it was raining really hard, or you wanted privacy, or you're going to leave your camp for the day. You'd want to close it up like this, but there are some other options for this. This is held together with Velcro just to cover the zipper that is underneath. That's just a storm flap to cover the zipper up, make it a little more waterproof, and that runs all the way up here. You can flip this Velcro piece back to expose a zipper that runs from the very bottom of the tent all the way up to the very top of the tent, and that's one thing that makes these doors really cool. So you have a zipper down here at the bottom. There's also another one up at the top if you wanted to zip that down from the top for whatever reason. So this would be your standard way you would open your door. If you wanted to roll these back and leave the door partially open, you can definitely do that. This tent has toggles on it, and I will say it has really cool toggles. It's not just your standard ones you see on most of your tent. I think these, they're kind of a V shape, and they help hold things that are toggled back, like the footprint or the doors. They help hold them better than just your standard toggle. I'll give you a close-up of what these look like here in a minute. But there you go. So you can toggle this back. This is open. You have a little bit of mesh exposed, and imagine if you did this on the other side, you'll have the same amount exposed for a little bit of breeze if you wanted that, or part of this tent body would be blocking the wind if you were in colder temperatures and you didn't want a lot of air coming through. Now, one of the things that I really like, because I like to sleep with the main body of the tent as exposed as possible most of the year because it's so hot where we live, is the way that this door will peel back even farther, and I'll show you what that looks like. So you come in here and you can unzip this all the way up to the apex of the tent. This exposes another toggle here, and that keeps that pulled all the way back to have as much mesh showing on this one side as possible. And this would be a really great way to go to sleep at night if you weren't expecting rain, you wanted maximum ventilation, but you wanted to be ready in case there was a pop-up shower or something at night. You already have your rain fly attached. All you have to do is undo the toggle, zip the door down, and you'd be fully protected. Now, this door over here can also be rolled back if you want even more views or ventilation. To do that, you'll have to take it off of the stake down at the bottom. You can just take the loop off, leave your stake there so it's ready to hook right back up if you need to. Roll it back to the tab and this toggle. Those just loop together. Now you are even more opened up. And if you want even more ventilation or views or whatever, you can also roll this door all the way back like we did the other side. So there you go. There is a view of the tent with both doors rolled all the way open on this side. Now, if you can imagine, do the same on the other side, and you have the tent really open. And like I said, that is a great option if you aren't expecting any rain, you want maximum ventilation, but you have your rain fly ready to go at a moment's notice. You just zip it down and everything inside is dry, but you still got to have your views for a while. All right, so these doors are really cool. Like I said, they're pretty big. They go all the way from this corner, all the way across the tent, and all the way back up to the top. There are 2 zippers on here, so you can place these zippers up at the top if you wanted to start there, in the middle, at the bottom, wherever you want your zippers to start at. And then you have a really big door that also has a toggle to hold it back. Great for getting all your stuff in or out of the tent whenever you're first getting set up. And that is toggled back out of the way. So now we have all this opened up, and like I said, you can do the exact same thing on the opposite side of this tent, and the whole thing is really opened up. Let's take a look around the inside of the tent and we'll check out what that looks like. All right, so now you can see the tent in context with an adult in here. I'm 6 foot tall, definitely a ton of space to sit up. I got my arms stretched out and I'm touching the peak here. I definitely couldn't stand up. The peak height is 48 inches. So both my boys can stand up in here. My oldest son, who is 9, can stand up right to the middle, his head touches. But my youngest son, he can run around inside here. So you have to imagine, since it's a dome-shaped tent, the ceiling height goes down the further over toward the sides you get. And then obviously the peak here in the middle is the tallest part. Plenty of room for 4 people in here. Like I said, 2 adults, 2 kids is perfect. You could fit 4 adults if you had to. Definitely enough room to where I can lay down and my head doesn't touch this wall and my feet don't touch that wall. But I could move all the way to one end and still have room for some gear inside to keep it dry. If I wanted to move my head all the way down there and put shoes or bags or whatever we have down at one end, we can definitely do that. Like I said, this is just an awesome door opening, really big. Let me bring you in here with me and I'll show you what it looks like from the inside. All right, here we go, looking back, my view from where you were just at, and you can see obviously how big the door is, all of the mesh up there. Get a look around the inside. There are 2 big pockets on the walls, which you can see one right there, and then there's one in the opposite corner, not right there. That one doesn't have one, but there's another big pocket there. So some places for you to store your gear. And here is the side of the tent that is still closed up. So that's what it'll look like from the inside, with all the doors battened down, just how you could get them during storm mode. Now, one thing I didn't do when I set this tent up, and I should have done, there you can see a red piece of Velcro. That is on the inside of the rainfly, and there's one on each corner. That is to go to the outside poles. There's actually 2 on each corner of the rainfly. So if you are in really bad weather, you would want to wrap these around the pole itself, and that'll help keep your rainfly on. I don't do that even with a lot of my car camping tents, unless I'm gonna have bad weather. So looking up from the inside, you remember those zippers I showed you way earlier on in the video? This is them here. This is made to be opened up, and specifically just to stick your hand through, reach up here, grab this little stay here and close that vent back, and make sure you close this back up or you'll have all sorts of bugs and stuff getting in there. There are some tabs up here to hang up a gear closet or a loft or whatever you want to call it. Here's another one here. There's one in each corner. I don't know if they sell one specifically for this tent, but you can make one, or there's probably ones for other tents that will fit on there, and you would be able to store some gear up here. There is a loop right up here, right at the very peak, and that is a great place to hang like a black diamond Moji lantern or some sort of LED light like that, and it will light up the whole tent. So here's a close-up of what the toggles look like on this tent that are more the V shape I was telling you about. This is what all the toggles on this tent look like, and I feel like those just do a lot better job than just your standard like straight toggle at holding whatever doors closed or your footprint on. Like I said, this is a little closer up of the pocket. You can put whatever down in there, clothes or anything to get them out of the way. It's not huge pockets, but like I said, you are backpacking, not car camping with this tent primarily, so you have not quite as much gear to put away in there. And then here is a view of the tent with me. I have my head almost all the way up to the side of the tent, and we'll see exactly how much room I have down at my feet. You can see I still have another foot or so down there under my feet to put whatever I need. And then I'm here. There's definitely a spot for a boy here. I'll say a boy, my kid here. And then over on this side, I'm laying halfway across, so you have the exact same thing over on that side. And so definitely room for 4 of us here. You can even fit some large size pads in here if you have those. And that is the inside of the tent. I'll show you what the vestibule space looks like. So here is looking into one of the vestibules with the tent door closed. Then we can come over here, open this tent door up. and you can see how much space you have there. Not a ton of room, but enough room that you can stack a couple backpacks on each side to keep them out of the rain, and easily access them if it is raining. You have your backpacks right here next to you. Also, good way to show you exactly how easy it was to close the doors. All right, so last thing I want to show you from the inside of the tent is closing the tent up if it did start raining at night. Now I have the main door closed right now. Like I would go to sleep at night that way, probably if I was expecting any sort of rain. But say we did start hearing some rain at night, you can get your tent zipper started through this here, or if you already have it zipped down part of the way, you just need to come over here and undo the toggle. Sometimes this is the tricky part, especially at night. That came apart pretty easy, and then I'm able to reach my hand far enough up under here and I can zip that all the way down. So that only took a matter of seconds, and my tent is fully waterproof again, and that's definitely a lot nicer at night than having to get out in the middle of a rainstorm. Well guys, that's the REI Trailhut 4 backpacking tent, what I'd call a family backpacking tent. It's currently in 2021 $299 from REI, and if you catch it on sale, you might can get a little bit better deal than that. I feel like it's a really good value for the quality of tent that you're getting. Somewhere in the middle, not your super low end cheap tents that feel like they're going to break every time you use them, and definitely not your super high end ultralight tents, but it is a really quality piece of gear, and I'm excited to get out and use it more. We got a trip coming up to Big Bend here in a week or so, and excited to get out there and try this thing out. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. Hope this helped, and we'll see you next time.